Have you ever had an encounter with someone that felt destined? A moment where everything seemed to align perfectly, as if the universe itself had orchestrated the meeting? Maybe you met them at a time when you needed them most, or perhaps their presence stirred something deep within you, making you feel like it wasn't just a random occurrence. In life, some connections are so intense, so meaningful, that we can't help but wonder, was this truly a coincidence? Or was there something greater at play? From a Buddhist perspective, these moments aren't just random. They're guided by the deep, interconnected laws of karma and dependent origination, also known as Duyen in Vietnamese. The Buddha once said, "When the student is ready, the teacher will appear." This powerful quote reminds us that the encounters we experience aren't mere accidents, but reflections of the conditions and actions we've cultivated throughout our lives. In Buddhism, every relationship, especially those that seem fated, is shaped by a web of interconnected causes and conditions, sometimes stemming from past lives, sometimes emerging from our deepest intentions and desires. If you've ever felt like a connection with someone was meant to be, you're not alone. The universe, through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, is constantly sending us signs, whether we recognize them or not. These signs can lead us to the right people at the right time to teach us lessons about ourselves, our past actions, and our spiritual journey. So if you're curious about how these moments of fate are really happening and what they can teach us, stay tuned. This video will uncover how the laws of karma, Duyen, mindfulness, and even our shadows shape the powerful connections we share with others, and how these encounters can guide us toward deeper self-discovery and growth. And if you're enjoying this content and find it meaningful, I'd be so grateful if you could subscribe to the channel. Your support will give me the motivation to keep creating more insightful and engaging content for you. Thank you for being part of this journey. In Buddhism, karma is the universal law of cause and effect, shaping every aspect of our existence, our thoughts, actions, and the words we speak. Just like a stone thrown into a pond creates ripples that spread far and wide, our actions create waves that reach into every corner of our lives and beyond. It's a law that not only affects us individually, but also deeply influences the relationships we form. When we encounter someone, it's not a coincidence. More often than not, it is the result of accumulated karma from our past actions, thoughts, and even past lives. The Buddha once said, "What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you create." This powerful teaching reminds us that the people we meet are often reflections of the choices we've made, the paths we've walked, and the karma we've generated. But there's another force at play here. Duyen. This Buddhist principle speaks to the interconnectedness of all beings, the subtle and divine orchestration that brings people into our lives at precisely the right time. Duyen is what aligns paths at the perfect moment, drawing us together with others when the conditions are ripe for learning, healing, and growth. It's like the universe itself is a grand conductor, carefully timing each note in a symphony of life, knowing exactly when to bring us into harmony with another. Think for a moment about a time when you met someone who changed the course of your life. It wasn't just a random meeting, was it? Perhaps you were struggling with something personal. Maybe a question you had been asking yourself for a long time, or a challenge you had been avoiding. Then, at just the right moment, someone walked into your life. They didn't just offer you advice, they made you realize something about yourself, something you hadn't known before. Maybe they helped you see a strength within you that you didn't know existed. Or perhaps their presence triggered a deep personal shift, a lesson you were meant to learn. This is no coincidence. This is Duyen at work, an expression of the cosmic forces that guide us. It's not just chance that brought you two together. It was a meeting crafted by the universe, a sign that you were ready for that lesson, that growth, or that healing. Just as the Buddha taught, the relationships we encounter in life are often designed to guide us on our journey, sometimes in ways we don't immediately understand. These connections are not random. They are deeply tied to your past actions, your spiritual evolution, and the ongoing journey of your soul. When we begin to recognize the power of karma and Duyen, we can see how intricately the universe weaves together the paths of all beings. Every meeting, every relationship is an invitation to reflect, learn, and grow. It's a call to deepen our awareness and recognize that just like every moment of life, every connection is part of a greater, unfolding story. As we reflect on these meaningful connections, it becomes clear that they are not just about the other person. They are mirrors that reveal parts of ourselves we may not have fully seen. Through mindfulness, we can begin to observe not only the external qualities of others, but also the internal projections and desires that shape our relationships. What if every person we meet is actually a reflection of something within us, something waiting to be acknowledged and understood? In Buddhism, mindfulness, or sati in Pali, is the practice of being fully present and aware of our thoughts, emotions, and actions without judgment. It is a tool that allows us to live with a sense of clarity, enabling us to engage with the world and others without being swayed by the turbulence of our own internal world. When we are mindful, we don't just experience life passively, we engage with it intentionally, noticing how our minds react to what is happening around us. This practice becomes especially powerful in relationships, where, more often than not, when we connect with someone, we are not just meeting them, we are meeting ourselves. This concept can be challenging to grasp at first, but it's something the Buddha spoke about extensively. He taught, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." This teaching suggests that our external reality, especially the people we encounter, is often a reflection of what is happening internally. When we feel a deep connection with someone, it's easy to project our desires, hopes, and fears onto them. For example, you may meet someone who feels like they embody everything you've ever wanted, someone who seems to have all the qualities you desire: love, security, adventure, or freedom. Initially, it feels perfect, almost like a dream come true. But as time goes on, you may start noticing that this person triggers certain emotions within you, feelings of jealousy, insecurity, or even dependency. It's important to realize that these emotions are not necessarily flaws in the other person. Instead, they are reflections of something that lies within you, parts of yourself that you have not fully acknowledged, integrated, or healed. Imagine a situation where you're drawn to someone who has a sense of independence, yet over time, you find yourself feeling insecure or clingy. These reactions might feel uncomfortable, but they are vital clues. They tell you that there is an area of your own inner world that needs attention, growth, or healing. These are not signs that the relationship is wrong. Rather, they are signs that the relationship is providing you with an opportunity to grow. By practicing mindfulness, we can start to see these projections more clearly. We begin to understand why we feel such a strong pull towards certain people, and why certain traits in others trigger strong emotions in us. The Buddha encouraged us to see things as they are, and through mindfulness, we gain the awareness necessary to do just that. Relationships become more than just connections with other people. They become mirrors. They allow us to see ourselves more deeply, revealing the patterns and desires that shape our lives. Every person we meet, every relationship we engage in, is an invitation to look inward and examine our own heart, mind, and soul. When we approach life and relationships with this kind of mindfulness, we unlock the power of truly knowing ourselves, which in turn allows us to build deeper, more authentic connections with others. Through mindfulness, we connect not only with the people around us, but with the deepest parts of ourselves. As we dive deeper into the nature of our connections, it's important to remember that nothing in life happens by accident. Every encounter, every relationship is a reflection of the karmic energy that flows through us, shaped by past actions and the present conditions. When we begin to recognize these forces, we start to realize that each person we meet carries a lesson, a mirror, or a sign meant to guide us. Now, let's explore how karma and the principle of dependent origination truly shape our relationships and help us evolve along our spiritual path. In the teachings of Buddhism, karma and dependent origination are two powerful concepts that work hand in hand to explain how the world around us, including our relationships, unfolds. Karma, as the law of cause and effect, tells us that every action we take, whether good or bad, creates an imprint, rippling through our lives and affecting everything it touches. This principle extends beyond just personal experiences. It shapes the interactions and connections we have with others. Each encounter, each relationship, is not a random event, but the result of accumulated karma from our past actions, thoughts, and even lives. As the Buddha said, just as a flower does not pick and choose the bee, so do we not choose who we encounter. Our karma chooses them for us. With karma, every relationship we experience is woven into the fabric of our past actions. These connections are deeply influenced by the energy and intentions we have sent out in previous moments of our lives. In a way, the people who enter our lives do so because of the seeds we have planted through our past deeds. Sometimes, we may meet someone who seems to bring immediate harmony, and other times, the encounter may be challenging. But regardless of the nature of the meeting, it's a reflection of what we need to learn or face at this point in our journey. Dependent origination, or pratityasamutpada, complements karma by explaining that nothing exists in isolation. Everything arises due to specific causes and conditions, and nothing is permanent. Our relationships are not just shaped by the actions of others, but by the conditions that have led to the meeting of two lives. The Buddha taught, when conditions are right, things will come into being. This means that no two people meet by accident. Every encounter occurs when the right conditions arise. It is the universe's way of bringing us what we need at precisely the right moment. Imagine a time when you met someone during a difficult phase of your life. Perhaps you were feeling lost or uncertain, and then a person entered your life who seemed to offer just what you needed, an insight, a kind word, or even just their presence. Looking back, you might realize that this person appeared at exactly the right time. This was no accident. The conditions of your life, combined with the karma you had created, led to this moment. You may have been facing an inner struggle that only this person could help you address, whether they were aware of it or not. Through understanding karma and dependent origination, we begin to see that relationships are far from random. They are deeply connected to the choices we've made, the conditions we've created, and the lessons we still need to learn. Every connection serves a purpose, either to challenge us, to teach us, or to heal us. By recognizing these signs, we can start to appreciate the deeper meaning behind our relationships, understanding that they are part of a much larger, interconnected web of life that shapes our spiritual evolution. As we begin to understand the interconnection between karma and dependent origination, we can see how these principles not only shape our relationships, but also influence the connection between our mind and body. Just as our actions and thoughts ripple outward, they also impact our inner world, creating a deep link between how we feel emotionally and how we experience life physically. This understanding helps us see that our relationships are not just encounters of the mind, but also of the body, each interaction leaving its mark, both within and without. Buddhism teaches us that mind and body are inseparable. Each shapes and influences the other. The mind shapes the body, and the body, in turn, expresses the mind. This profound connection is especially visible in relationships, where our physical interactions are not merely expressions of attraction or shared interests. They are deeply intertwined with the emotional and spiritual bonds we share with others. The Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." This reminder tells us that our inner world, our thoughts, emotions, and intentions, directly affects the world we experience and the way we connect with others. In relationships, this connection between mind and body goes beyond mere physical attraction. It is about cultivating mindfulness, compassion, and an openness to growth. When two people come together, the physical closeness they share is a reflection of something much deeper, a mental and emotional connection that is the foundation of a true and lasting bond. It is not just the touch, the closeness, or the words exchanged that matter. It's the energy, the intention, and the mutual respect that flows between them. Think about a time when you were in a relationship, whether romantic, familial, or platonic, where you felt deeply understood by the other person. No words were needed for you to know that you were seen and valued. You could simply be in the presence of each other, and it felt like you were connected on a level far beyond the physical. This kind of connection is not rooted in physical attraction or shared superficial interests. Instead, it comes from a deeper, shared recognition of each other's humanity. It's the understanding that both individuals are walking a path together, growing, healing, and supporting one another on their respective journeys. Imagine how this type of connection feels when you're with someone who not only listens to your words, but also hears the unspoken ones. They understand your deepest fears, your dreams, your struggles, and your joys without you needing to explain them in detail. The physical closeness you share becomes an outward expression of the mental and emotional unity between you both. This kind of relationship is built on mindfulness and compassion, where you are both present for each other, not just in the good times, but also in the moments of vulnerability, challenge, and growth. When we cultivate mindfulness, we open ourselves to seeing and understanding the deeper needs of those around us. We begin to see beyond the surface and connect with the heart of the other person. And as we do this, our bodies naturally express what our minds and hearts are feeling, through gestures, touches, and even silence. These quiet moments, free of words, are where the deepest connections are formed. By being mindful and compassionate, we are able to nurture relationships that go far beyond what meets the eye, creating bonds that are truly transformative. As we continue to explore the deeper aspects of our existence, we must also confront the parts of ourselves that we often avoid, the shadow. Just as mindfulness brings us closer to understanding the mind and body connection, it also invites us to face those hidden aspects of ourselves, acknowledging both the light and dark within us. This process of integration is essential for growth, allowing us to become whole by embracing all parts of who we truly are. In Buddhism, there is a profound concept known as the shadow, which refers to the parts of ourselves that we often hide, deny, or repress. These aspects may include negative traits such as anger, jealousy, and pride, but they can also encompass positive qualities that we've neglected, such as creativity, compassion, and love. The shadow exists in all of us, and while we often try to suppress it, it never truly goes away. Instead, it lingers beneath the surface, waiting to be acknowledged and integrated into our consciousness. As the Buddha once said, "There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path." This reminds us that we must confront our shadows, not run from them, if we wish to find true peace and healing. In relationships, the shadow often surfaces in the most unexpected ways. When we meet someone significant in our lives, especially when that relationship feels destined, it can be easy to project our shadows onto them. We may find ourselves feeling intense emotions, both positive and negative, that seem to come out of nowhere. These feelings, although unsettling, are opportunities for us to look inward. Rather than blaming the other person for triggering our discomfort, we are called to ask, what is this revealing about me? Imagine a relationship where you feel both incredibly connected and yet, at times, deeply challenged. Perhaps your partner's behavior triggers feelings of jealousy or inadequacy that you weren't even aware existed. These feelings might seem to be about the other person, but in reality, they are reflecting something within yourself, something unresolved, a part of your shadow that needs attention. Maybe it's an unhealed wound from your past, or a fear of abandonment that you've never fully acknowledged. Rather than seeing these reactions as a sign that the relationship is wrong, the Buddha's teachings suggest that this is precisely the moment to look inward and begin the process of healing. By embracing the shadow, we can begin to integrate these repressed parts of ourselves, bringing them into the light of awareness. It's not easy, and it often requires deep courage to face the parts of ourselves we've long avoided. But it is through this process that we can truly grow. In relationships, when we are willing to confront and accept our shadows, we create space for a deeper, more authentic connection. We stop projecting our fears, insecurities, and unmet needs onto others, and instead, we begin to relate to them from a place of wholeness. Every relationship, especially those that feel guided by the universe, is an opportunity for this kind of transformation. They aren't just about finding someone to love or be loved by. They are about confronting ourselves through the mirror of another person. When we understand that our shadows are not something to be feared, but rather integrated, we allow our relationships to become a powerful force for healing and spiritual evolution. As the Buddha teaches, the path to enlightenment is not through avoidance, but through acceptance and integration of all aspects of our being, light and dark alike. As we come to the end of this exploration into the profound wisdom of Buddhism and its impact on relationships, it's important to reflect on what we've learned. In Buddhism, relationships aren't about finding someone to complete us. They are opportunities to connect with ourselves more deeply. Every person that enters our lives does so for a reason, often to teach us something, help us heal, or guide us toward growth. These encounters, no matter how they unfold, are not random. They are the result of the intricate dance of karma, Duyen, and the interconnectedness that binds us all. When we open ourselves to the lessons that these relationships offer, through mindfulness, embracing the shadow, and understanding the role of karma, we are given the chance to transform our connections into pathways for self-discovery and spiritual awakening. The universe, with its boundless wisdom, doesn't just send us people for companionship. It sends us individuals who help us evolve, heal, and ultimately become whole. If you've ever felt that a relationship was meant to be, take a moment to recognize the growth it's brought you. Rather than focusing on perfection, try to see the deeper meaning behind every connection. Each relationship, whether joyful or challenging, holds the potential for immense personal growth if we choose to see it as an opportunity for healing. I encourage you to reflect on your own relationships and consider the lessons they've brought into your life. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Please feel free to share in the comments below. Your insights can inspire others on their own journey. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you found value in it, please consider subscribing and sharing it with others who may benefit. Together, let's continue on the path of growth, healing, and enlightenment.